Yo, so the post that I read from Instagram, what confidence actually is. Evidence, nothing more. You're confident you're confident driving because you have driven 10,000 times. Confident speaking because you have spoken 10,000 times. People think confidence is a feeling. It's not, it's a record. Want more confidence? Create more evidence. Take more shots, collect more data, stack more wins. Confidence isn't built in your head, it's built with your hands. That is actually very right. I agree with it and I totally agree, like 100%, 110%. Because when I used to didn't know how to speak English, I didn't know how to, approach strangers, I didn't know like what to say. I also thought that all the people who I see on Instagram who are, approaching different people, like they're just approaching and talking to girls, like, how do they know? How do they actually know, like, what to say? What if I make a script in my mind that I'll say this, then he will say this, then he or she will say this, then I'll say this again, he will say this again, he or she will say this again. Like what would he doesn't say that? What would I do after that, right? Like what if I don't have anything to say, right? And that's the same with sales too. Let's suppose you're knocking doors and you're selling something. When I used to sell, I worked for Eastlink. I used to sell mobile plans, internet plans, and TV plans. That's the same thing that happened with me when I started my first day. I was like, okay, what if they ask me this question? What if I don't know answer to this? What would I do? Like I wouldn't know like what would I do? What would I do if I didn't know the answer to this? What would I even do? Right? So how to escape that? It's very simple. You have to go through that process and you have give me 1 second. You have to go through that process and you have to stack more evidence for your brain. Let's suppose like if you keep yourself in your brain's POV, what would you think? Let's suppose you want to play chess, right? You want to play chess and you don't know what to do after this. Let's take a better example. Uh, let's suppose you want to collect evidence. For that, I could take an example of, let's suppose, coding. Let's suppose you're not very good at coding, but once you start doing it, you'll be doing many mistakes, and those mistakes are called evidences. If your brain knows that, yeah, I did this mistake at that time, I did this mistake at that time, I learned this from this mistake, I learned this from this mistake. Yeah, maybe you know what? After that, I did that. I researched about it a little bit. I didn't know what to do. Then I asked my this friend, and I asked my this friend. He also didn't know. Then we both asked the professor, right? Um, then we both asked the professor, right? Yeah, after that, yeah, I mean, it took us like 2 days after that how to figure it out, and after that, we finally figured it out. That's also called evidence. Let's suppose you start talking to girls. Let's suppose you start, what do you say, approaching girls. One day, first approach, your first 10 approach, you wouldn't know like what to say. Let's suppose a girl, she's also trying to test you. Whenever you go to her, she's also trying to test you. She would be like, yeah, oh, you know what? I don't like guys. I'm a lesbian. What are you gonna say after that? Right? That's also a mistake. That's also evidence that you would be giving your brain. So stack more wins. Um, I can't, emphasize more on this. If you do more, let's suppose if you do more things of one activity, let's suppose you do speaking every single day. If you take my example too, I talk to camera every day. I make videos every day. I record videos in my laptop. Some videos I don't post, but still I record myself every day. Do you think I don't learn from that? I learn a little bit. How are these hearts though? They're beautiful, right? Yeah. How what was I saying? Do you think I don't learn anything from that? Of course I do, right? Of course I do learn a lot of things. I make mistakes too. Let's suppose once you were a kid, you had to download some, I mean, if you had, what do you say, if you had like MacBook or something, you wouldn't know that. But if you had a normal laptop, where we used to download pirated games, we knew, right? That yeah, I mean, when you go to this website, you have to click this. If you click this, like 6 or 7 tabs will open. They will say you to download the apps and everything. If you go to this website, you will know like the download button is over here. You did those mistakes, that's how you know. So make more mistakes, increase your uh, failure resume, increase your failure resume. And once you increase that stack, you're gonna stack more wins. That's for sure. If you like the content, if you haven't subscribed, comment down and subscribe. What are you waiting for?